Hi everyone. Welcome back to the Captain Mugi channel, and today we are going to tell you about a car racing action movie, called The Fast and the Furious, The Tokyo Drift. So, sit back, enjoy the story and stay safe. The film opens by showing a man named Sean, being seduced by women while they are in the car community. This woman's boyfriend was jealous. Then she tried to make fun of Sean's car. However, Sean's response only irritated the man even more. So he threw a baseball at Sean's car so that it broke the glass of his car. Sean, who felt challenged, then got out of the car and looked at each other with the man, until suddenly the woman provoked them by saying, "Why don't they just race? And the winner will get him." They both agreed and immediately started their race in a housing that was being built, and without further ado the two immediately stepped on the gas pedal and slid quickly. When their cars were next to each other, Sean teased the man's girlfriend, which annoyed him and finally crashed his car into Sean's car. But because of that they both had a bad accident. Luckily they survived, but they must be escorted to the police station and secured. A policeman then rebuked Sean's stupid actions. He said if the man was his opponent had influential parents, so he couldn't possibly accept the punishment. Not long after, Sean's mother came. After seeing her son's condition, she then tried to negotiate with the police, although the negotiations were successful, but Sean was transferred to Japan by his mother to prevent him from doing stupid things again. Long story short, Sean finally arrived in Tokyo, and there he lived in the house of his father, who was a military general but was stationed in Japan. His father then warned Sean several things about his actions before coming to Japan. He also said if Sean wanted to stay at his house, then he had to follow the rules at home, namely he could not come home at night, and he had to stay away from things that smelled of cars and race. Hearing that, Sean seemed forced to comply. The next day, Sean continued his studies at a high school in Tokyo, but on his first day he was late. When lunch arrived, suddenly he was visited by a student named Twinkie. He approached Sean. It turned out to offer his wares. Sean was not interested at first, until he saw the steering wheel of the car, and then asked how much it cost. But Twinkie replied that the steering wheel was not for sale because it was taken from his lucky car. Out of curiosity, Sean then asked Twinkie to show what the car looked like. That night, Twinkie proudly showed off his car. For Sean, who saw it for the first time, the car looked ordinary. But in Japan cars like this have beautiful art. Sean was then invited to the parking lot of a mall, which turned out to be a gathering place for the racers to start their duel. Sean looked surprised to see all that. While there he saw his classmate named Neela, was in that place. He approached her and tried to greet her. However, DK, Neela's boyfriend, didn't like seeing that, so he approached them and immediately reprimanded Sean to stay away. But with Sean's stubborn nature, he even seemed to challenge DK, even though DK initially didn't care about him. But after hearing if Sean challenges him to a race, DK becomes interested and accepts it. In his heart, DK thinks to humiliate Sean. Then, a racer named Han lent Sean his car, because when that Sean doesn't have a car yet. Twinkie feel, if Sean is too brave to challenge the race without knowing the rules in that race. He also said that DK was not just anyone. The real meaning of DK was Drift King, which meant that in this race what was judged was skill, not speed. But it was too late. When the race just started, Sean didn't know the first rules happy because he was in the lead. However, when passing various corners in the arena he always crashed his car against the wall while DK smoothly passed Sean without making many meaningless movements. Seeing Sean's poor skills, DK then teased and humiliated him in front of everyone, until finally the race was over with DK coming out as the winner. While Sean managed to turn Han's car into mush, Han then warned him not to go anywhere. When he returned home, his father scolded him because Sean came home too late. His father was really angry, then admonished him to maintain his behavior as long as he stayed at his house. The next day after school, Han had been waiting for him in front of the school, and he then asked her to go somewhere. Han then said if Sean had to work for him to reimburse the cost of the car he damaged. Duty first, he had to collect debts to someone in the hot springs. Even though it didn't go smoothly, but he successfully completed the first task. After that they returned. On the way, Sean asked Han to teach him how to drift, because he wanted to avenge his defeat. Han just chuckled while shaking his head. Sean and Han then arrived at a place which was DK's headquarters. They then deposited the money they got earlier. It turned out that Han was DK's colleague. He helped DK to collect debts from people, and the money will be channeled to his uncle who is a Yakuza who holds power in Tokyo. After that, Han and DK talk about their business and ask Sean to get out. Shortly after leaving, he met Neela again and they finally chatted quite casually. But Sean even pretended to know about Neela's life, which made Neela uncomfortable and immediately left him. Han, who came out and saw that, immediately warned Sean not to get close to Neela if he didn't want anything to do with DK. After that they returned to Han's base, where Sean was amazed looking at all of Han's collection of cars. Han then gave one of his cars to Sean so he could practice drifting. Although it's still bad, there's a slight change in Sean's abilities. At night, Sean was seen chatting casually with Han. Sean, who was still curious, then asked why Han wanted to lend him his car, even though he would have known if his car would be damaged. Han then replied, if he did that to find out someone's character. For him to sacrifice money, it doesn't matter. He can also see people who can be trusted or not, and Sean is a responsible and trustworthy person. A few days later, Sean continues to practice with Han. He also often helps Twinkie sell at night, until one day Sean was kicked out of the house because he often came home at night. Sean finally decided to stay temporarily at Han's house. While staying at Han's house, Sean continued to practice with Han to sharpen his skills, until one day at night, Sean got a challenge from his men DK. Unexpectedly everyone. Sean won so easily that it annoyed DK's men. All the spectators also cheered to see that, including Neela, who was starting to get interested in Sean's figure. The next day when Sean went to school, he started having a relationship with Neela, and in the end they went out together and dating. Neela felt that Sean was a trustworthy person, so she without hesitation told her life story, where she grew up without both parents. All this time she was cared for by her grandmother DK. Sean also told her life story, where her parents divorced when she was little, and he kept moving around because he often caused trouble. It didn't feel like their conversation was getting deeper, and it looked like the two of them understood each other. The next day DK came to Han's place and immediately hit Sean. After finding out that Sean was dating his girlfriend, DK then threatened to kill him if he didn't stay away from Neela. Han then said that Sean didn't just play with fire, but threw gasoline on the fire. Neela, who knew about this, immediately went to DK and broke off the relationship, but DK didn't accept it. Then he brought up Neela's past. He said if it wasn't for him taking care of him, surely now Neela has become like her mother, who is a prostitute. Hearing that, Neela immediately went to Han's place with a sad feeling. On the other hand, DK's uncle, who is a Yakuza, came to his headquarters and revealed that DK's finances were not healthy. He then showed evidence that his business partner, namely Han, had been corrupt without DK knowing it. Even though DK tried to defend Han, his uncle said that the money that was corrupted by Han was very much. He also warned DK not to underestimate small things, because the impact could be big. Full of anger, DK went straight to Han and beat him, almost shot him in the head. But his attention was diverted when Twinkie closed the gate, so Han and his team could escape from that place. But DK doesn't give up, and keeps chasing him. They were involved in a very fierce chase, until finally Han's car slipped after being shot at by DK. Sean tried to help, but Han's car exploded with Han in it. They then left the location in a state of confusion and despair. Shortly before Sean entered his father's house, DK suddenly came and pointed a gun at him. Luckily, Sean's father came out and pointed a gun at DK. But Neela chose to give in, and went with DK. After they left, his father felt disappointed with Sean, and he was about to send Sean back to his mother. But Sean defended himself and said he didn't want to being like before, who always ran away from problems. This time he wanted to solve the problems he had created. Hearing that his father looked proud because Sean was being mature, he also gave Sean time to solve his problem. When Sean was confused about what steps he should take, Twinkie suddenly came and asked him to get out of town, because Uncle DK would definitely be looking for them. However, here Sean intends to meet Uncle DK and he wants to end all of this, because DK will definitely obey his uncle and will not fight. Twinkie, who heard that, couldn't say anything else. She then gave Sean a bag containing a pile of money belonging to Han, because Sean would not be able to meet Uncle DK if he didn't bring money. Desperately, Sean came to DK headquarters and met his uncle. He gave all the money and apologized for what happened. He came there to solve all these problems. He wanted to make peace by competing with DK, and whoever loses must leave Tokyo City. Unexpectedly, DK's uncle agreed to the proposal. Soon after that, Sean returned to Han's garage, but he became confused because all of Han's cars had been confiscated. But luckily, they found the wreck of the car that Sean used the first time, even though the car body had been destroyed but the car's engine was still good. Sean then took the car into the garage and they started repairing it. When it was finished, they immediately test-driven the car. A few moments later, Twinkie warned Sean to be careful, because the track used for the race was DK's mainstay track. Came game day, at midnight on the pass that connects the two mountains. After the participants entered the track, the match began. At the beginning DK was in the lead, and Sean was left far behind because he had to adjust to this track, which according to him was dangerous because it was flanked by ravines, but in the end he managed to overtake DK. DK, who couldn't accept it, nudged Sean's car and intended to bring him down. However, Sean managed to survive, and the one who fell was DK himself. Sean finally won the match because DK was confirmed dead. DK's uncle then approached him and said, "If Sean and Neela are now free." After that incident, Sean became the new DK. One night, someone challenged him to a race. At first he didn't want to, but after hearing that this person was the Han family, he accepted it, and that person turned out to be Toretto. They start the match, and the movie ends. So, what do you think about this film? Maybe you can write it in the comments column. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like button and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.